What's going on, everybody? BJ Matthews, Pull Up Basketball Podcast. You know what I'm saying? Follow me on my Instagram page at BJs or BJIZZLLE. Follow my YouTube page, The Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Follow me on Spotify, The Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Follow my co-host, Rick Masters. You know what I'm saying? Facebook, Project Masters. Follow his Instagram page, Rick Masters 23. Let's get it popping. Also, don't forget to buy our shirts, $25 a pop. We got them in white, black, and red. You know what I'm saying? Get yours today. All sizes here. But got a good one for y'all today. We're going to talk about two NBA players, one former, one current. Former NBA player Paul Pierce, former NBA player, NBA Hall of Famer, first ballot NBA legend. We're going to talk about LeBron James, current NBA player, top 5 NBA player of all time. What more can I say? King James. Paul Pierce, LeBron James had somewhat of a little bit of a rivalry in the early 2000s and the late early 2010s and the late 2000s, right? Paul Pierce, since then, from playing basketball when he retired, has transpired to his career as an NBA analyst. Former working on a show called ESPN The Jump. He was fired over the summer through some things that he did on Instagram Live. For anybody on Instagram, you know they can check your profiles and stuff like that. So be careful what you put on your private life. Your workplace can definitely check it. So he was fired, and the comments that stuck out, though, he had in his interview when he said a couple days ago, saying that the reason why he was happy to be let go from ESPN because he felt that all they made him do was talk about LeBron James for a majority of his time. Paul Pierce, LeBron has had a rivalry. They've had a beef somewhat more on Paul Pierce's side than LeBron James' side. And I think that then trickled off the effect after basketball for Paul Pierce. So I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to kind of look at it from two segments. Is Paul Pierce jealous of LeBron James, and has he been jealous for a long time, or is he telling the truth when he says that he feels like the face of the NBA, which is LeBron James, gets too much praise? I'm going to say this and try to break this down as objectively as I can. Paul Pierce, I feel like I understand his frustration as a competitor and being a former competitor to LeBron James, but I also think sometimes he has taken a little bit too far. But let me explain what I mean by that. As a basketball player, take me, for example, who has played high school, college, semi-pro, overseas. When you're a competitor, you never want to give a person that you're competing up against and who's a rival of yours any type of praise at that time, right? When you're competing. And Paul Pierce is a competitor. But after basketball, when you done retired and your stats and your legacy has been cemented, you tend to let a lot of that go, right? But for some reason, Paul Pierce is not able to let go of any of his resentment or what he feels towards LeBron James. He has not let that go, right? And I feel it's because he doesn't respect LeBron. He never has. I think he looks at LeBron James. He's very gifted in his athletic gifts, his God-given gifts. I think he's always looked at LeBron James as a physical specimen, but I don't feel like mentally he feels that LeBron James has the same things as Kobe Bryant, a Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, himself, the guys who in his area he don't feel LeBron James has ever had. I think he thinks LeBron James has been given more than earned, the things that he has gotten, right? So, LeBron James, of course, is a better player than Paul Pierce, but Paul Pierce, anybody who knows basketball understands how good he was. So let's not act like Paul Pierce has no room to talk about or have an opinion on what he feels about LeBron James. And do I think it was some truth, or do I think it was more so jealousy? I think it was more so truth. But I don't feel like it's not LeBron James. This is why I do not really respect the media nowadays, because it seems to be more about shock value and ratings than actual truth-telling. Since LeBron James has been in the NBA has been good at trying to make him the face of the league, the chosen one. LeBron James is going to be the next Michael Jordan. And when you got guys in the NBA who are competitive like that, seeing this kid at the time, LeBron James was a 17, 18-year-old kid, come into the NBA, get all these accolades too soon. I feel like the NBA gave LeBron James too much too soon. I feel like LeBron wasn't the best player in the NBA till 2012. So when you got NBA trying to give LeBron, the rings over a Kobe Bryant, a Tim Duncan, a Tracy McGrady, guys who have cemented their legacies and paved the way for guys like LeBron James to come into the league, you're going to have people in the NBA who have a problem with that. Basketball players, competitors who have a problem with that notion that you're giving this guy all this stuff way too soon. And I don't think Paul Pierce has ever let go of it. I think he has always kept that inside of him. Like, this dude pretty much has been given everything too soon. And it's kind of true, because if you look at his career, early on, the first 10 years, a lot of stuff was very bad for LeBron, made him look bad. You know, the epic fail against the Dallas Mavericks, people were saying he was a choker. The countless time he was put out in the playoffs against Orlando and Boston, right? And what the media has done, guys like the Shannon Sharps, the Nick Wrights, Chris Broussards, Jason McIntyres, Colin Cowherds, they elevate LeBron so high and give him so much and say he's, you know, the closest thing to Michael Jordan and he's the top 2 player and all this stuff. And when he falls down, they want to make the excuse. So when you elevate a person so high as a fan in the media, who is supposed to be responsible for really analyzing games and talking and truth telling, you're going to have people who's going to be not so much jealous, but they're going to look at it with a side eye like, see, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. When he loses, y'all want to give everybody else the blame, but when he wins, you want to give him all the credit, right? His teammates always get the back end of the stick when he loses, you know, playoffs. You know, Kevin Love, Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, anybody when LeBron James loses. And the reason of that being is because the media controls the narrative, and the media, without a shadow of a doubt, supports LeBron James. He's the most beloved superstar in the NBA, period, of all time, in my opinion. But I don't think LeBron James throughout the year has asked for a lot of this stuff. I think early on in his career, he was actually overwhelmed with the amount of pressure that was put on him too soon. And I don't think it was until he teamed up with Dwayne Wade that he actually has somebody who have his back and actually can teach him how to be a real leader and actually be more mentally tougher. And that's when he became the best player in the league. But I never bought into this notion that LeBron was better than Kobe, better than Tim Duncan, better than Tracy McGrady in the 2000s whatsoever. I don't believe it because you didn't win a championship yet. How could you be the best player in the league if you have not won a championship? So, do I feel Paul Pierce is wrong for what he said? I do not. But I also would ask Paul Pierce to be a little bit more understanding towards LeBron James and actually be like, it's not him who's putting this notion out here. It's more so of the media who's put this on him throughout the years. And just recently, LeBron James has bought into his own hype. You know, when he loses to a Golden State team, oh, it was a 73 win team. What do you expect? That's what you hear from a lot of these analysts. But they have no problem before the series starts, saying that that LeBron James is going to win this series. And that's just not how it works. Like, you give him a lose-lose situation. So guys like a Paul Pierce who had to fight and claw in that era in the 2000s for everything that they wanted, they find that disrespectful. Think of Paul Pierce and Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant and Paul Pierce were competitors. They were rivals. But Paul Pierce respected Kobe Bryant. He respected that man. He don't respect LeBron James whatsoever. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think the media, once again, they control the narrative. They control how the masses think. LeBron James, you know, he's top 2 of all time. LeBron James is the best player in the NBA right now. All these crazy things that's being said is on the power of them. So, and that trickles down to the fan base because they listen to these talk shows every day. They're not there to really educate the masses. They're there to basically say that for shock value and rating. Sorry, I had a little mind blowing, but that's all I got to say about that. You know what I'm saying? Again, follow me on my YouTube page, The Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Follow me on my Spotify, The Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Follow my Instagram at BJizzle. Follow me on my Facebook, BJ Matthews. Pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull up. Peace.